What's happening, Mark? How are you today, my good old friend?
I am ready for another BS Friday Live with Dave Cooper.
Awesome. Well, we have a little bit of change in the air today because of some other situations that have arisen, but that doesn't stop us from doing the show, nor does it stop us from having guests on the show, nor does it stop us from telling you what's coming up. So we got a lot's happening, and if you haven't seen the private chat, check out that private chat, Mark. We will get started here. Mark, where are you sitting at today?
Hold on, Dave. That private chat is 800 paragraphs. Oh, this is great. Real quick, if you don't know who's on your screen right now, right there with the best background ever, that is Dave Cooper. And I'm Mark Willie. We're so excited that we're here. I've got a brick house of words in front of me that Dave just put up, and I'll just say yes to everything. I'll say yes to everything, and you do what you got to do to make that happen right here on Dave Cooper Live.
Absolutely. So, but before we get into our special guests, our fill-in, our last-minute request, a gentleman who's no stranger to 100 and some slides in less than 45 minutes himself. Before we get into that, and guess what? We had a couple of them on recently, so you're not really sure who that is. Let's talk about what we have coming up, Mark, where you're going to be, because I have IWBCC coming up in San Francisco. Let me put that up there real quick so everybody can see. So we will be at IWBC coming up, as you can see. Good old Vaughn Buckley is going to be there, and he's going to be doing all of the keynote beginnings of this. And I'm going to be there as well. And I am having my own little role. So you can see, if you want to see what we got going on, I am the moderator for Is Offsite Construction Ready for Automation? That's Wednesday, November 2nd at 1:30 to 3. That's track 3. You definitely want to tune in for that. I am also the moderator for Productizing Multifamily Modular Construction, Thursday, November 3rd at 11 to 12:30, track number 2. And if there wasn't enough to do, I have the privilege and the pleasure of being the moderator for Jerry McCaughey's keynote event, Wednesday, November 3rd, 1:30 to 2:30. So you definitely want to be there. And for those of you right after BCMC, the week after, that's right, the following week, we will be, Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, Denver, Colorado, for another trade show with ECI. And they do a bunch of software solutions for the industry. And we're super excited to have a role with them and move their knowledge, their industry, and their influence in this industry forward, because they can really make some big changes. And we're excited to be out there working with them as well. So, okay, Mark, that's what I have coming up. What do you got coming up?
Hold on. We got to slow down. It's almost like it's espresso with Dave. Dave has never been this energetic. Okay, so I want to know that what I saw things right. On the screen, you said BCMC, but it's the IW.
Oh, did I write? I did write that, didn't I? See, last minute changes, man. IWBC. I'm really, thank you, Mark.
Okay, so, but I want everyone to know how important this is.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you through my slow Mark Willie step by step. So Green Build has been around for a very long time, as has the IWBC. I'm saying that right, Dave?
You are saying that right.
So what's happening is those two groups have come together and they put their shows in unison. So you're getting the best of those both worlds. And when Dave says he's moderating for a keynote of Jerry, who's, the top of the Antechris, right? That is really going to be special. So this is in California, November 1st through the 3rd. And I know there's still tickets available. Head to San Francisco, invite Dave to take a journey to Alcatraz with you. Go visit the Golden Gate, all that kind of stuff. The world's tallest, windiest road, all those great things in San Francisco, the market.
That's right.
Go see the sites, go interact with your community, and for the first time ever, enjoy these two industry giants coming together all in one roof.
That's right. The IWBC and Greenbuild are coming together. And I fixed my banners. I'm glad you grabbed that, Mark. So again, let's just go through it. IWBC moderator is offsite construction ready for automation Wednesday, November 2nd, 1:30 to 3. And then again, moderator at IWBC for productizing multifamily modular construction Thursday, November 3rd, 11 to 12:30. And moderating the keynote discussions with Jerry McCahey, the one and only. Everybody knows Jerry, November 3rd, 1:30 to 2:30. So again, there's plenty of time to sign up. This is the biggest they've had ever for this show, not only by merging with Greenbuild, but guess what, Mark? Guess what? They have more exhibitors this year than ever before. The exhibitors have really stepped up. So this is going to be an awesome show. And word has it that VBC, Von Buckley's company, is going to have modules on location for people to look at. It's the real deal. All right, perfect.
Rumor has it, and I will say, Dave, bragging rights are bragging rights. Chicago has hosted 3 green builds. That is a record for green builds. I've been a part of all of those. They're really sensational. The fact that you get to be at the merger of these two is great. And something tells me Dave's going to be walking around. So if you see him, say, hey, say hello.
That's right. That is right. Hey, and listen, if you're in New York City, just so everybody knows, I will be in New York City next week, Tuesday, the 18th, 19th, coming home on, I think, Wednesday. So is it Wednesday or Thursday? I got to look. But if you're in New York City and you want to meet up, I am going to NAB, which is the National Association of Broadcasters Convention. What? So I can learn how to get even better at what we do, and also having some pretty big meetings there, which I'm super excited about. So I will be in New York City. So if you're there and you would like to connect, hey, even NAB, it's a free conference to get in. It's like IBS. You can just sign up, register, and come check out all the cool gear.
So Dave, if you have free time, our friend Michael Ingwe is his office. Bax Ingwe is in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And Kevin Brennan, another air sealing expert that you know, by day, he is a fireman in Staten Island. So if you would like to hit the firehouse or hit Bax Ingwe, we'll set that up and you could go see our friends, Kevin and Michael and their teams.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Mark, right before IWBCC, you are doing your own speaking in your own event. FIASCON 2022, emissions down, power up is the theme of this year's event. Tell us about it.
So, gosh, I might get this wrong, but I think this is the 16th year. If I get it wrong, everyone, please correct me.
They will.
Yeah, and wonderful. So there's still time to register. We have had many of these presenters and certainly all of the exhibitors on the show. So these names are familiar with you. Dave was there in Terrytown last year.
I was.
And Katrin will be joining us next Friday. So, 6 days, 23 hours from now. And we're going to go over everything she's excited about. So we call it the FIASCON Pre-Con. In the chat, folks, there is the link to register. You all remember the last time was the only time that Dave Cooper wasn't on the BS Friday show, and Jennifer Cooper was on, and we all hung out. So get ready for FIASCON. I'm presenting a couple times on Thursday. I'm so excited to meet the other presenters. Matt Bloomquist and Dylan Ingwe are presenting the student track, which is something new this year.
That's excited. And, here you are.
I get to meet Sean St. Amour and Zach Semke for the first time in person.
It's about time.
It's about time. I'm wearing the green jacket in that one, Dave.
Yeah, so you're talking about advancing all wood construction in the built environment, friends with benefits. Well,
Friends with benefits.
friends with benefits. What kind of convention is this, Mark? How
Well,
collaborations across
it's with the
manufacture, design, build,
PH, Dave. It's with a PH.
build
So
it.
So
Yeah.
on the first discussion, I'm with my good friend Eric Barton and Emily Rea, who we've had on the show, and we'll be talking about different ways to achieve air tightness. Then I'm hopping over with Shannon Pendleton of Sanderson Sustainable Design, doing
Hmm.
benefits. And then I'm hopping with Shannon and Andrew Seeley talking about the Nova House and off-grid
Yeah.
reusable carbon low materials.
Man, they're not giving you a whole lot of time between your sessions, man. You better be studied up before you get there.
All my slides are done. All my slides are sent. Everything is rehearsed, Dave. It's plenty of time
Look
to
at that.
forget it all.
I love it. I love it. Well, this is awesome stuff. So, what are the dates again on this, Mark? Let me go back to the top here. Sorry for making everybody sick with my scrolling.
So 27th and 28th, Palmer House in Chicago are the main conference dates. There's events on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah.
There's events in the evening, and there's a tour on Saturday, and it's all sold out. So that doesn't mean the conference is sold out. Hear me correct. The 27th to 28th, you can still sign up for. And some things on the 25th and 26th are available. The 29th is sold out. That's how it is, Dave, right? First come,
That's right.
first serve. Since you're touring projects, there's only spots for a few people, but be there on Thursday, Friday. And on that Friday, I will be there broadcasting, and Dave will be working all the behind the scenes to make us look good. So
Yep.
there'll be a lot of surprise faces. You know, we're going to bring them.
That's correct. All right. We got one more thing that we want to share before we bring in our special guest filling in for us. So just stick with us for one more second. Mark, where can everybody find all of these awesome episodes? Do you have any idea where they can find all of these awesome episodes?
You too.
That's right. Mark, look at this list. These are like the shows, man. Look how many shows that we have done over the years. And right now, I mean, there's more to even be added to this list. So for anything that you want to see or learn or research when it comes to Building Science Fridays, or just building science in general, or if you're looking to find information on some of the top people that we have had on the show, this is your place to do it. There is a lot of information here. And if you really want to have some fun, you should watch our Christmas specials. We always have fun at Christmas
specials. So I think our YouTube has around 110 episodes under this category. But if you jump to the whole Dave Cooper Live,
let's do it.
There's all the Monday ones. There's a bunch of the old Tuesday ones. There's a ton of the Wednesday ones.
That's right.
There's some of the Thursday ones. There's a plethora of the Saturday ones. And Dave, our milestone, if I have my dates right, today is our 2.5-year anniversary. So that means 52 and 52 is 104 plus 26.
That's right.
Is a big carry the 10, carry the 20, right? That's a big, what is that? 130 episodes.
That is, that's a lot of episodes. We've really been plugging away at this. We have not missed a BS Friday ever, have we? Never. We've never missed a BS Friday, even if they've been short. The show
I've missed 3, and you've missed 1, but the show's never missed. So we've always filled in for one another.
That's it. And just so everybody knows, I mean, we're really enjoying this because we are being watched over 10,000 hours a month right now. The channel is growing. The views are going through the roof, and, we have only the best of the experts on this show. And guess who tunes in for that? The other best of the experts around the world. There goes this sound effect. So just understand that, our biggest watch time, Mark, is Saturday, Sunday mornings or early mornings when all these really high-end, successful people in our industry are trying to catch up on what's happening around, and we've become a resource to help them do that.
Dave, you are like boom, 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 boom.
I am, man. I've had a lot of coffee.
I I have a new thing that I'm setting up. I've asked people that are coming on the show, Dave, to send me koozies, right? Because I don't need more coffee cups, and I guess I don't need any more hats. But the koozies, right, are kind of like a thermal break for me. So look at all the shows that we have coming up in 2023.
Wow. Cool.
It's koozie time. So
Koozie
maybe we're
time.
going to change Beers Friday to Koozie Friday.
We should, what we should do is time this with the weather, right? Koozies in the winter to keep our drinks cooled, and coffee mugs in the winter to keep our drinks warm, and koozies in the summer to keep our. I was out late last night. Can you tell?
So with that, I think it'd be cool to have like a stainless steel coffee mug, and we put the koozie on the coffee mug to keep it insulated.
Well, a lot of these new mugs have the insulation built into them. We could probably learn something from that, huh? Yep.
We all enjoy a good thermal break, Dave.
All right, Mark, we are into the show. We have a special returning guest that is helping us out and jumping on last minute because our last guest had an emergency come up, and that happens in life. Had one myself last night with the kids, so I get it and I understand it. So, but that doesn't mean the show stops, and that doesn't mean we don't stop learning. So, what do you say, Mark? How about doing an intro here?
Actually, this person needs no intro, but I'll do it. Y'all know you could go to the Google machine and you could type in the word tree hugger, and what comes up is article after article after article after article from Lloyd Alter. Lloyd Alter, I believe, writes between 10 and 20 articles a week. That is massive. And how he delivers this is almost as if you're having a conversation with Lloyd. His delivery of words is like none other. I think George Lucas and William Shakespeare would be proud to sit next to Lloyd. So, Lloyd, come back to the show, and thank you for surprising us this Friday.
Awesome. Hey, it's Lloyd. How about some air horns?
First of all, can you hear me? Is the sound working?
Working just fine.
Oh, great. Okay, well, obviously, I don't have a PowerPoint because I just got asked on the show 10 minutes ago. And this is a good thing because the PowerPoint was so screwed up last time. The only reason I was actually home when you called was because I was this morning dismantling the gas piping to my gas stove, throwing it out so that the new induction oven range could come in. And it came off the truck about 10 minutes before you called, and the side was bashed in and the glass top was cracked, and it went back on the truck and it went away. And thank God I have a spare little induction hot plate that I bought for my wife to convince her that induction actually works.
Yes.
And so we have something to cook on because we don't get the new one till Monday.
And Lloyd, so we've never had someone cancel gas, rip out gas pipe, and receive an induction cooktop. But I also
that doesn't work.
Yeah, I also know if you need to, you could get on your bike and go pick up a chicken dinner down the street.
It's absolutely
lucky chicken dinner.
Before I start talking about what I wanted to talk about, I was going to do a pitch for everyone to go to Greenbuild. I used to go to Greenbuild every year. The company would send me, and then the company got sold to somebody else who said, no, we're not spending the money on that. So I hadn't been there since Chicago, almost 9 years ago. And then I went to Atlanta in 2019, and it was still great. Every year I meet people who I otherwise might not have seen. I just talk on Twitter or whatever. And I'm so excited that you're going to meet Zach and Sean. I have had many beers together with both of them when I used to speak a lot at Passive House conventions and things. And they're both wonderful. I was just talking to Zach yesterday, getting a few words from him about something Passive House related. So you're going to have great fun meeting them in person.
Awesome. Excellent.
And it's really funny that you called me today because since I woke up really early and I was onto the computer actually at 5:30 this morning, writing an unusually long post that's something that's fascinated me for a long time. And it was based on, you know the story about Dr. John Snow in London, who there was a cholera epidemic in 1857, and nobody knew what cholera was. They didn't know about bugs and that. They thought everything was in the air and the miasma. And what he did, he was the first person, he started taking London maps and seeing where was everybody sick or dying from cholera, and find it, and went from one to the other and found that it all was coming from water from one pump.
One pump.
One pump that was
Wow.
basically getting water. And there was everybody in London, just when they shit, can I say that? No. When they went to the toilet, it all went into, they were going into a cesspit. They were going into a lined brick thing that night soil men would come and empty. And it would just sit there until it got empty. And one near the pump leaked. And people would come from other parts of London because they loved the flavor of the water from this particular pump. But so it made it harder to map. But anyhow, he did the map and he took the handle off the pump, and the cholera epidemic ended immediately. And that was the first time that sort of people made the connection between water, that you don't drink your poop.
Well,
Lloyd, what year was that?
1854.
So 1854, and we're now somewhere around 2022. That was data mapping.
Yeah, it was data mapping, and it was brilliant. And if you look up, just type in John Snow pump, you will see a data map. It's the first image that always shows up.
The other thing he's famous for is a saying called "Winter is coming."
Yes, exactly. I know. I
winter is here.
Yes, absolutely.
Winter is here. This has changed a little bit, Lloyd, because in today's world, we don't dump the feces. We burn it in the military. That's what they had us doing. So that's probably a better route to go moving forward, I would think.
Well, it is, and it took a really long time for people to became an engineering problem, not a health problem. They had to convince people to put in sewers. I'm going to tell a story because from when I was writing a book about bathrooms, what happened? Everybody wonders how we got toilets. The toilet was invented in the 15th century, but it was kind of useless if you didn't have a water supply or a place to pipe it to. So when John Snow figured this out, instead of saying everybody should have sewers, what they said is, we'll deliver water because it's cheaper. So we'll bring everybody fresh water. And so everybody suddenly had a pipe to their house, which went into their kitchen. The idea being, you used to go get a bucket of water and you would carry it to your kitchen. And what happened now, though, that people had so much water that they were using suddenly 100 times as much because they didn't have to carry it in buckets. So, and the toilet, which had been invented before, they started putting in toilets that weren't connected to sewers. They just went into ditches, into the middle of the road, into everything. And so then they had to madly go back and start building sewers, sort of covering the gutters and the drainage ditches, and then building sewers down to rivers and things like that. And so, it was all done in such a hurry. Nobody figured out how to do it. And cities like where I live, in American cities, took 70 years until 1912 until cities could say, okay, we've now got decent separate water supplies and sewers. And the sewers then were just dumping into rivers and jumping into lakes. It took another 100 years to get this kind of sewage and water systems that we have now. But they figured out water. We have building codes that tell you how to do your plumbing pipes, how to do your vents.
Yep.
The municipalities test the water. They chlorinate it. They figured water out very nicely. And all of our systems are approved and inspected and relatively healthy.
Lloyd, a little known fact is there was a child praying the gods, and wasn't sure of which one to pray to. And her mother said, well, you need to pray to the porcelain gods. And so the child prayed to the porcelain gods. And later that year, her father, John P. Crapper, invented the toilet.
That's not true, but it's a great story.
I've in my younger years, I have prayed to the porcelain gods one too many times.
Yes.
You know, it's interesting though, because our houses were cabins, right? We talk about this often. And what Lloyd's saying is really fantastical that people don't think about is we've transferred the cabins to have indoor plumbing so that at 1 a.m, your wife, your mom, your aunt, your grandma, your sister, your daughter didn't have to walk to the outhouse. And while I'm mentioning the females walking to the outhouse, I'm saying that because on the back porch there was also a bush, and that was for the men.
Right.
But walking to the outhouse was for the ladies. Is a real deal. So indoor plumbing is incredible, and that venting of it is so spectacular because in these high performance houses today, when they're going to do their famous red door of truth blower door test, they actually have to fill the trap in those plumbing because otherwise that will be a large diameter source of airflow. So this all correlates. Back to you, Lloyd.
Well, the point is, we spent all this effort in the plumbing for our water and our sewage and all of that. And there are all these codes and there are all these trained people. And what do we do about air quality? Nothing. Where have we been with air quality? And so my story is titled, and this lecture, this point that I'm doing now tonight is titled, Air is the New Poop. Because what we have to do is
Holy crap.
Yes, exactly. What we have to do is start thinking about air, go through the same process that we did with air as we did with water, where we actually think about where is the air, the pollution in our air coming from, and how do we get rid of it? Because we knew the rule with water was, drinking water and shit don't mix. So what we have to do now is how are we getting our air and what are we doing with it? And this is where we started. So my whole issue is we have to look at this and we have to think about, again, how hard this is to deal with. It took 70 years to get decent plumbing after John Snow, and it takes us forever in buildings to do anything. And the best example of that is lead paint. We knew about lead paint, that lead was bad for kids. We knew in the 20s. And it wasn't until the 50s that governments, lead paint is really interesting stuff because lead is sweet. Paint chips are yummy. This is why kids want to eat them. This is why horses lick off the sides of barns and drop dead because sugar of lead was used to make wine in Rome.
Absolutely. So, folks, this is so interesting. The human brain, when the human brain touches lead to their tongue, right? Little kids play on floors and they put everything in their mouth. So the human brain, when lead hits the tongue, the brain says sugar.
Yep.
And so the kid keeps putting his hand on the ground, keeps putting their fingers in their mouth. And that lead, what it does is it cancels brain cells that will never be able to be repaired. Never be able to be repaired. Yeah. And the lead offlining in the US actually happened 100 years after the lead offlining in Europe. That's how critical this point that Lloyd is bringing forward is.
And this is about regulation. The industry fought it. They said, we'll make lead-free paint voluntary. They marketed it as being, it covers better, it goes up faster, it's cheaper. And, it wasn't until 1978, 50 years after they knew it was a problem, that lead paint was banned in the United States. And of course, it's still all over. You buy old furniture, you buy an old house, you try and fix old trim, you're scraping off lead paint if it was from before 1978. So this problem, 100 years after it started, we still have it. And that's why when we talk about healthy buildings and why I'm going to go through these things, you have to completely ignore everything the industry says because they're liars. And they're cheats, and they want to keep selling what they're selling.
That's right.
And if it took 50 years to get 70 years to get plumbing, and if it took 50 years to get lead banned, we have to look at what are the other things that are hurting us now. So the first might be volatile organic compounds, VOCs. You can go and buy low VOC paint, and everybody should buy low VOC paint. VOCs, a lot of them can lead to eye, nose, and throat irritation, headaches, damage to central nervous system, and even cancer, and some are absorbed through the skin. Why are they even selling paints with VOCs still in them? Because the companies make money on them and they keep doing it. So we should all know, and it's the same with sofas were filled, all the foam and everything was filled with flame retardants. Everybody knew the flame retardants were a problem. Why were they there? Because in the 50s and 60s and 70s, everybody smoked and fires would start. And so they convinced them to put pounds and pounds and pounds of bromine into brominated flame retardants into everything. So
and they outgas. And think about the proximity of your face, right? Your breathing mouth. Think about the proximity of that to your sofa, to your pillow, to your mattress. And when that leaches into the air, you're consuming that in, and that filter that you have called the lung, right?
Right.
Is now poisoned by this. And so a lot of times they'll take wonderful natural materials and they'll put the sprinkle dust of additives in it. And that is what we call caustic.
Yeah, and you know who was fighting it? Industry, the bromine industry in Salt Lake City, and in the Dead Sea Industries in Israel. That's the biggest producer of bromine, and they're all sitting there saying, "Oh, you got to have these flame retardants." And I remember having posts, you know, kids holding banners, children in favor of fire retardants, because you know it was all ridiculous. So, you know, VOCs are an example. The next example that I was thinking about was like gas stoves, gas in your house. Gas is more and more, we learn that cooking with gas is disastrously unhealthy, that it produces particulates, PM 2.5, it produces nitrogen oxides, it produces all of these things that we don't need. And, you know, gas was always preferred to electric stove, but now that we have induction, chefs and everybody else says it's better. And
combustion based appliances. So beyond your stove, it's the combustion, right?
But the trouble, you know, at least I have a little gas boiler. You know, I have an old house with radiators and I have a little boiler, but at least it's fully vented to the outside. I'm trying to get a heat pump size to do it, but it's hard. But the
if
gas
anyone
stove
has a heat pump, know that you'll get a great article out of it. So please contact Lloyd with a plethora of heat pumps.
And then there's the question, okay, the gas stove and gas industry, you maybe remember the phrase, "Oh, we're cooking with gas." That was invented by an ad guy, was on the Bob Hope show in 1949, was a cliche invented by the gas company to promote gas. The American gas industry, I wrote an article, is hiring Instagram influencers to be cooking in front of their big gas stoves to keep promoting gas, even though we know that it's really bad for us. And that's how the industry works. The American gas industry and their lobbyists are making it impossible for cities to say we want to stop gas connections and things like that, and fighting it all the way. What they say is, oh, get a good hood, a good exhaust hood. But there's no such thing. There's no such thing. My longest title post that I ever wrote was "The most screwed up, badly designed, inappropriately used appliance in your home, the kitchen exhaust," because they're either too far away, or they're too small, or they don't have the right amount of fans, or the filters are dirty, or you don't turn them on because they're too noisy, or a million reasons that they don't work.
1,000 times over, I've been to gas technology, right, where they have every cooktop under the sun and every hood under the sun, and we put hoods to not interfere with the cook.
Yes.
And to look good with the cabinets. However, when you see that stuff coming up, and even if it's induction, you need a hood.
Yes,
right?
because it comes off the cooking.
So if you only eat raw fruits and raw vegetables, then guess what? You don't need a cooktop or a hood. Great. And you don't need that in your kitchen. You are a 0.5%. Congratulations, you won. But
I got a question.
Else needs that hood down and out.
Exactly. And wider than the stove.
So let me ask this. So with the cooking and the gas, right? Gas is a hot topic, whether it's gasoline for your car, now gas for your cooktops. I didn't know this one, so this is a new one for me. You know, what happens if everything goes to electric and we don't have the infrastructure to do it? And I figured you probably studied this a little bit, Lloyd, because like a lot of us, you watch the news and they say, "Oh, save power, we're going to have a blackout because it's hot." But in the same week, they say, "Well, and we're going to all have all electric cars in the next 10 years or whatever it is." So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And doesn't it take the fossil fuels and the gas and all this to make the electricity?
Well, what you're going to find down the road is that the electric cars become part of the picture, that there's so much battery storage in electric cars that when they're plugged into your house, the electric company might be filling the cars and, oh, it's the peak time now. Everybody's having dinner and cooking. And so we'll start taking the electricity out of the cars. Why pay extra to have Tesla battery on your wall when they can turn all the electric cars into one giant battery system? Think of the whole thing as one system. Charge up the cars when the electricity is cheap, like at night or when the sun is out in the middle of the day, and then draw from the cars when you don't. They can really work well together.
I have an ultra radical view on this more than most people. So, and please, if you're a city that's switching to all electric, don't do a study. Don't spend 2 years to do a study. Massachusetts did it. Their study works. They know the amount of electricity you need when you get rid of the dinosaur fuel. But first, before bringing in renewable energy or electric energy, first take the step, and we covered this a little bit with you last time, Lloyd, of reducing your need, right?
Yes.
So the passive house does that for the building and all that, but also humans are regulated for the most part by sun up and sun down. So the times of day where we don't have light, we also should be using less energy and we should be bottoming out. So if we radically think of, instead of more batteries for when the sun doesn't shine, I contend open your fridge less during those hours because you don't need to eat then anyway, and use less energy. Take that downtime, turn the crap off. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, I agree with that. But Lloyd, you said something that really made me think. And I had this conversation at dinner the other night with somebody. And that is utility companies having the access to your thermostats and things in your house. So at peak hours or when things are looking pretty rough, they can come in and automatically say, well, I know you like being at 68 degrees during the day, but we're going to move you up to 75 because it's way too hot today to save on the power grid. Is that kind of what you're saying? Like that's how the energy would flow?
Happening.
Yeah.
That's already happening with water heaters. A lot of utilities already control your water heater. They don't control your thermostat in the house, but they control the water heater. And if your house was a passive house, it's essentially a thermal battery. You can turn off the heat and the house stays warm. You can turn off the air conditioning and the house stays cool. And if you've got your house as a thermal battery, they'll be able to deal with those peaks really easily. Turn off the heat pump for this time and turn on the stove at this time, and they'll be sophisticated. This is the only kind of smart house that makes sense. Not you talking to Alexa and Apple and that stuff's all, but to have the appliances and the loads talk to the supply, they can really balance things out. So then where was I? Get rid of gas, get a good hood. I've always made the case that we should have separate kitchens, that having open kitchens is just the dumbest idea ever. That horse is out of the barn, and everybody calls me an idiot whenever I propose that. But if you go to the Orient, if you go to China, you'll find that every single kitchen is a closed kitchen, closed with glass, because they cook in a wok. You got this big woof of stuff, and they don't want it through their house. And I think it makes much more sense.
It does. I mean, Italy has done that forever. You have the Italian kitchen for all the baking and that goes on. And a lot of my friends, yes, in China, they actually have a giant slider that hides in the wall. And guess what? If someone's cooking breakfast at 5 or making a big dinner at 5 p.m. and you're still doing everything, it's also sound control. So you're going to like it. Just buy another slider. They're off the shelf.
Well,
Forget about
well,
it.
you don't need the sliders. The sliders came in because they wanted the open kitchen look that we have in
Right.
America. Before they just had it in a separate kitchen, like mine
Drywall.
upstairs in my
Yeah.
1913 house. The next thing that I want to talk about is actually knowing what you're talking about, which is get a decent air quality monitor. And so you know what's in your house, just like you have a water meter. I mean, this is my portable one. I never go anywhere without it.
Hold on. You actually carry an air monitor in your pocket, and if it starts beeping, what do you do? Get the hell out of there?
No, this is just for CO2, because CO2 is a good proxy for COVID in the air.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when they told me I had to go back and teach in a classroom again with 100 students, I said, well, all I know is if that CO2 hits 1,000 parts per million, I'm leaving, because this is not healthy. And, you know, and outside is about 450, and this room is now 693. Upstairs, I have a plug-in unit called an Aware. An Aware unit, $250 in it, moderates VOCs, part ppm, PM 2.5, and carbon dioxide. And it's fantastic, you know. On the Canadian Thanksgiving dinner last Monday night, the CO2 went up to 1,100. I know it's time to open the window a bit. And the VOCs went up like through the roof. I couldn't understand it. And I put a picture of it up on Twitter, and an air quality expert said, Thanksgiving dinner, lots of family, a lot of alcohol open, a lot of wine. I said, yeah. I said, well, that's your VOC for tonight.
So can we tie one of these VOC, these detectors, carbon detectors, to the windows automatically opening and closing? So you don't have to actually think of one more thing you got to do. To me, that'd be like one more social media app that I got to go look at.
Well, no, because what you should be doing is having a proper system. You're not going to have the windows open in the middle of winter. This brings me to my final step. These were all the things people could worry about in their own house. But unfortunately, the problem is our houses are terrible. All the houses that we built into now. My next thing is, what do you have to do? You have to move or renovate. This is where Passive House comes in, that it was engineered to deal with these issues. You take your typical American or Canadian house, and it's heated and cooled through all these ducts that are recirculating air, going back there, going through some crappy filter. You're breathing the same air, you're moving the dust, you're moving the bacteria, you're moving everything around the house, spreading it around with no fresh air figured into the system. The fresh air that you get is through the windows and through infiltration, through leaks, through crappy house. And with Passive House, they separate the heating and the cooling from the ventilation. And the ventilation system goes through a heat recovery ventilator that you can put in. It's at MERV 13 filters that basically you're constantly getting fresh air in the house. The house is sealed, so you're not getting that infiltration of lousy air from the outside. And this is how you deal with the basic stuff in the air. The other thing is that the walls and the windows are thick enough that you can get the humidity up to between 40 and 60%, which is healthy. If you go to any northern United States or Canadian house in winter, the humidity will never be above, like what Mark, maybe 40% tops, because otherwise you start getting condensation.
It'll run down your wall.
Yeah, and with at 40%, the human body, the neck, the tissues get dry, your nose gets dry, you get colds and all of that. So we've got to know the humidity, and we've got to know the crap that's in the air, which is why you've got to have monitors. But the only way to really do it well is to control it all, and that's where Passive House comes in. And if you live in an apartment, you're really screwed. You're getting all your air. The way their systems work is that the corridors are pressurized so that, smells don't come from your house into the corridor. There's an inch gap under the door and all the fresh air in your apartment is being dragged through people's shoes and the crap that's in the carpet and everything, and then coming under the door, and they consider this fresh air. They actually call it fresh air makeup.
Yep.
And it's uncontrollable because of the stack effect. It's different on every floor, depending on how high you are, where the wind is blowing. I mean, David Fisman, this epidemiologist doctor who first used the phrase "air is the new poop" that I quote in the beginning of my article, just says that he says it's unconscionable that we build our apartments the way that we do, that we build them in places that we do, like next to highways, so that the outside air is full PM2.5, but it's all unregulated. It's like plumbing before 1854. That's how we're treating our air. And that's why I so love his phrase, air is the new poop. And I'm going to keep using it because we have to think about air the way we did with water.
Love it.
So, all
That's
right.
it.
So we don't create a mass exodus of all the multi-family apartment dwellers around the world because our reach is so far. What are some things that people can do in the meantime, outside of just telling them they're screwed? You know, what can they do in the meantime? Because that's just not going to happen.
In apartments?
Yeah. Is there anything?
Yeah, I mean, I'd close that gap under the door, and I'd probably get.
Open your windows.
Can you get any of those through-wall air-to-air heat exchangers, like the little Loomis things, and put them in your own apartment? The landlord probably wouldn't let you. I don't know what
you know. Many of
Yeah.
those dwelling units don't have the operable windows that allow, and they don't want to see the visual structure outside.
Yeah.
And they're limited to opening 4 inches, so baby won't fall out. So you get
Right.
almost no ventilation anyway.
Yeah.
So I hate to use this phrase, but I will use the phrase. So it does depend. The voices in the building, the project managers are all people, and their lives count. So begin the conversation with, how is our building performing? And what can we do? Start there together. Don't start objectionably, right? We all know if you ask a question with positive approach to be a part of the solution, you will help get there. But if you come up there with a loud tone, you're not going to set the stage for success. So please know that maybe your building is already really darn good. And maybe it's not, but start the conversation collectively so your community all benefits.
Yes, and sit by your window as often as possible in the meantime. That's what I say, even if you only have a 4-inch gap.
Yeah, go for a walk.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Lloyd, what didn't we cover, man? I mean, geez, I don't know where to go on what I've learned. Other than I've learned today, and I've been reinforced that if you're gonna poop in a bucket, burn it. Don't put it in the ground next to your water source. So we've learned that, right? I've learned that I'm gonna think twice before living in an apartment building without taking my monitor in my pocket to understand what's going on in that building and what systems they're using before I go. Right. But I also learned that, there's help out there if you follow the passive house systems to help mitigate and do some of this stuff. And I've also learned that there is alternative ways to improve your air quality in your life without having to go through this full energy retrofit of your house with passive house and all that until you can afford to do it. And I'm sure there's incremental things we can do, because the idea that you're going to have a great conversation with the landlord of a 100-unit apartment building that you need to change out all the mechanicals and fresh air system probably is not going to go so well, especially heading into a looming recession.
However, those systems regularly get updated as they become offline, and the building owners and managers understand the cost of operation of the current systems. So when it's time to update them,
Smart.
You're actually going to be saving money by adding the new systems. So when you bring up that angle, right, it's always about what
That's right.
can we do, and that's it. They will be going offline, so you can upgrade. And there's great examples, and more of those appliances and systems are coming here. We're a little bit behind Asia and Europe for sure.
Mark, sometimes you are wicked smart.
One last thing I'd like to say is that the matter of indoor air quality, opening a window to get fresh air, very much depends on what the outdoor air quality is.
Yeah.
And so if you live in Seattle and California and there are forest fires going on all the time, you're sucking PM 2.5. raw, coming in through the windows. So that's a passive house can help there by keeping the outside air fresher, because they have those filters. You can seal the windows then. Your building is sealed. In the last big California fires, passive house people found their air was much cleaner. But we all have to work collectively to get cars off the road that are polluting, get rid of diesel cars in particular that are pumping out PM 2.5. Fortunately, not too many people have been buying those since the Volkswagen scandals. We have to electrify our transportation, get more people on bikes. We have to stop thinking of zoning where we build all the high rises, where all the poor, and put all the poor people on next to the busy roads, and keep all the single family zoning where the rich people are away from the busy roads, because that's the busy roads are where the pollution is concentrated. And we have to take our air as seriously as we take our water. That is my key final point.
Allison Bales and Lloyd have been commenting online back about what one another does, and there's that box he made, Dave and Lloyd, where they take the box fans and they take the filters. Yes. Yep. And you make your own little cleansing unit by pulling air.
Very effective.
And sending it back out. There's a name for it. It's not
Corsi Rosenthal box. Corsi Rosenthal box, I think, is the current name.
Perfect. And
you take 4 M13 filters, put them together, stick a box fan on top, and they do a tremendous job of cleaning the air, and it costs you $60. And so I should have, that's one thing that you could do in apartments.
So and Dave's in a new place now after traveling with his wife and kids. And you know, if you want an experiment to do with your kids where they could go and talk to their community in their classroom for $60, get a box fan, get the filters, and if you make one, create a 60-second video and send it to us, and we'll tag Lloyd and we'll tag Allison. And you know, we had the ice bucket challenge. Let's make the Steve Rosenthal challenge.
The Steve Rosenthal. I bet you're the life of a party, Lloyd. You know, I just have to imagine you walk in, you set down your CO2 detector on the table. Hey, listen, we're getting up near that 1,000 points. You better open that window. You know, but honestly, I think, you know, it's good that you spend so much time collecting the data and understanding what this truly all means, right? Because you know, that's the stuff that we need to know to make people understand what's going on. And you have a fun way of delivering it. You don't deliver it like you're not like the Grinch when you come in. You're like, well, here's what's going on, right? And you're excited and you're fun to talk about it, because now we have the tools and the data to really start making some cases towards how we got to change and why we have to change. Just like with climate change and all that other stuff, there's some real data that, you know, numbers don't lie. I don't know if that's the way to say it, right? That's what my accountant says.
Lloyd, I think you know this person. He's a longtime friend of mine. He used to come to our early days of Passive House meetings, and he's been on the show. Dave knows him. Corbett Lunsford.
Corbett?
Right?
No, I don't.
You don't know Corbett? He had his own TV show. I mean, he's the real deal.
Possible TV show. Lloyd, you're gonna love him. I'll send something over. So he was come to the meetings. And he, like me, would wear the green blazer, and everyone laughed at us. But he wore the IAQ detector on his belt. And during one of the pregnancies that they had, they were at dinner, him and his wife, and in the restaurant, it was at a number that was not a good number. Let's put it that way. And he got up with his wife, and they left the restaurant. And he said, look, I'm not going to make a scene, but right now this is unhealthy for your patrons. And the restaurant did move forward and added the mechanical, you know, they could fluctuate that. They know how to control that in restaurants already. So it wasn't a big deal for them to do it, but they had not known. And all it was is, and this 12 years ago, 13 years ago, you know, it's not like this stuff is new. he had the little small one on his belt. So consider that small device. There's 4 dozen companies that make them. One is better than the other. You know, check your ratings. And then again, anyone that makes this box, this Rosenthal box, please send the video to Dave, myself, to Lloyd, to Elsa Bales, and we'll circulate it out. Can't hear you, Dave. You're muted, brother.
Nope, can't hear you.
Yep. All right. What have we missed here? We're at our hour time frame. People got to get back to work. I think we've covered a whole lot. Lloyd, is there anything that you didn't say that you want to say before we wrap up today?
I can't think of it. I can't think of anything else right now.
Yeah.
Go back and
go check out Tree Hugger, folks. There's going to be an article and another article and another article and another article, and there's thousands you could catch up on.
Yeah,
and there will be one on Tuesday that I was working on all today called "Air is the New Poop," if that gets past the editors. So if it does, everything I talked about here will be documented there.
Well, guess what? If it doesn't get past the editors, it will work right here for Mark, Willie, and myself to talk about the new poop in the air.
Love it.
Awesome. All right, listen, so let's wrap this up then, everybody. Just so you know, Mark will be speaking at FIASCon 2022 on Thursday. How many episodes you got? Yeah, how many speaking engagements? 3, right?
3 until they ask me to do less.
Yep, until they ask you to do less. That ain't gonna happen. They're gonna voluntold you to do more, and you know how that works, and that's exactly what it became, voluntold. And same with us. We are going to be at IWBCC, the Internet Industrial Wood-Based Conference in San Francisco, and we are doing 3 sessions out there as well. So be sure to join us. That's going to be November 1st to the 3rd in San Francisco, California. All right, listen, Lloyd, thank you so much for joining us. Lloyd, will you be at Greenbuild?
No,
You
can't
won't
travel to the States yet. Border's still hard.
Got it. Well, when you can, I look forward to meeting you, or maybe we come up there. All right, everybody. Listen, Mark, appreciate you, brother.
We'll
and everybody else out there.
Coffee with Dave tomorrow. Lloyd, have a great night. We'll look for your article on Tuesday. See you, folks.
Bye, everybody. Bye now.